Welcome, everybody, to the Out of Home Insider Show, a podcast like no other, hosted by the one and only Tim Rowe. Get ready to have some knowledge dropped on you and to be entertained, because nothing's more valuable than food for your brain. So sit back, relax, we're about to dive in as the best industry podcast is about to begin.
So totally. Well, so speaking of life in the real world, that's like your business. How'd you get into this crazy game called Out of Home?
Oh, it's a very, very, very interesting story, but I'll take you back. So basically it started when I was probably right before I turned 16 or 17. And I grew up in a family business atmosphere. My dad ran convenience stores he just retired 2018 for 38 years. So it was getting going, and he decided to put, marquee signs on the convenience store. So 5x8 little on-premise.
Got it.
Digital signs that would just, Coke 99 cent, get people into the stores. And, a lot of gas stations, they make their sales and their profit inside the stores, not by selling gasoline or to that effect. So he was trying to find a return on investment, obviously. So when I was 16 or 17, right when I started driving, he said, Garrett, I want you to try, never been in sales, or he's mainly just been in retail, right?
Yeah.
He said, I want you to try to sell advertisements off these signs. So I'm like, okay, I got a summer job. Okay, I'm just going to drive. He hired me for, I was $8 an hour, and I was making 10% commission. It was.
All right, but like you're 16, 17. Had you really ever sold anything before?
I mean, I was always I would say, a young entrepreneur. I wouldn't say I was lemonade stand and all that, but I would always save my money, and I understood the value of money. So yeah. I understood what the opportunity presented itself, and I understood that, I'm here to help. At that time, I was just trying to help the family business.
For sure.
And when I started being ingrained in it and saying that, what I realized, I was building the salesmanship inside of me during this time. So it was my summer job, and every kid has a summer job. So this was mine, and I was just, hustling, and I was honestly just building my relationships around town that obviously has helped me now where I'm at. But, I did that for probably 3 summers in a row. And it was very interesting. And I come back with the numbers, and he looks at the numbers, and he was kind of shocked, and he was like, he didn't understand, I did pretty well on the advertisements for a 17.
Come on, give us something. What'd you sell?
I sold about $30,000 worth.
Come on, listen. There's people listening to this show that wish they could sell 30,000. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
They don't listen to this show.
It was about 30,000. I did it, and I got it to a point where I got, to closer to the $40,000 range, and I was like, I'm gonna make an LLC out of this, and I'm gonna start my own LLC. And at the time, my dad had some he had some interstate property, right? And or his truck stops. He had 2 truck stops and 3 regular convenience stores. And at the time, we were like, well, maybe we should put a bigger sign on the interstate. So what he did was
so he had some
signage
on the interstate, or he just had the land rights.
Right. He just had the land that was in between 2 of his truck stops.
Okay,
right?
Got it. Okay, so no billboards yet. There were no billboards
yet. No, we were still small into like the marquee signs, just to get that return on investment. And I was like, I did well on this. I've kind of built a pattern of what I do. I know how to go in there and sell and this, that, and the third. And I'm, mind you, this is right when I was in college. I was doing this as a summer job, so I was still in school during this. I did the 30,000 within the summer.
Wow. Okay, so I mean those are real numbers. And who were you primarily selling to? Like just other small businesses?
Local businesses, and we kind of set up a model that I still model it off of today of the every minute rotation. Most at the time I didn't know I didn't know what industry I was in because I was so young. But then as I've learned over the years, we set up this model of an every minute rotation and an every other minute rotation. And that's how the crux of my business and how I sold it to smaller businesses. So it would be, one of my first clients was a credit union, which has been very, very supportive of me throughout my transition and innovation of out of home. But it would be, anywhere from, a carpet place to a heating and air place to an insurance place, just a, a small, how small town, mainly, regular small businesses is what I really tailored it to. And I would just try to sell longevity of the contract so that while I was in school, I didn't have to revisit. I would just revisit them, every 3 or 4 months. And so it was a cool, I didn't realize what I was going through at the time of what I was doing. But then as I get to college and I start learning a little more, and I go to Spartanburg Methodist for my freshman year. And by the time I'm getting closer to going to Clemson, my first year, that's when the interstate billboard thing came about. And we decided to go visit some manufacturers. We visited Watchfire and we visited Daktronics in South Dakota and Indiana. So this was my sophomore year of college. We're flying out to South Dakota and in Indianapolis for Watchfire and Daktronics. And I remember this is very reminiscing. You have the napkins that you get on on the airplane, and I looked at my dad and I wrote down a number. I said, here, this is what I will lease it from you. I'm 18, 19 years old.
So
I was like, I have the opportunity, right? I have the opportunity. I was like, I have to present something. This is my first deal, so to speak, to, gaining some leverage. So
your plan at this point was dad's kind of leading the charge on like the CapEx side, but you're going to lease it from him and then you're going to go sell the space.
Correct.
Got it.
Understood. Not everybody has the opportunity to have interstate, frontage road that was, but we didn't, at the time, we didn't realize that, okay, hey, we have these sales. Let's try to leverage it and make it a little bit bigger. So we ended up going with Daktronics. We feel that it was a great board, great quality. Watchfire was good. At the time we just felt like the people at Daktronics connected with us better and just presented a better deal. And I wrote the number down. So then when I got back, we went with Daktronics. We started on the construction while I was still in my sophomore year at Clemson. And once it was in the ground, that was history there. So, and mainly still in school, still in Clemson, trying to, it's a little bit different than a summer. When you're in summer, when you're a kid in college, you can go and you have more time than what you do.
Sure. But you're running a business at this. You're learning more. You're learning more outside the classroom than you are inside the classroom at this point. Fair statement.
At that point, for sure. As my education went longer in Clemson, I learned a little bit more about the business, because I majored in business management and entrepreneurship. But that kind of led me into entrepreneurship was, starting the business, and I emphasized it in college. So yeah, for sure, I was learning more, and I've been learning since I was stocking, making ice bags for my dad's convenience store and stocking coolers. I learned about business from a young age and just understood what work ethic meant. And, and a job worth doing is worth doing right. So when you have an opportunity, you have to capitalize on that opportunity of the lifetime, because that lifetime of that opportunity might be a year, it might be 10 years, or it might be 3 months. You don't know. And so I learned that in a very young age. And so when I was in Clemson, I was trying to figure out how I'm going to do both. I was trying to understand how I'm going to do both. And basically I just try to do sales calls, just cold calling on the phone and to that, and working to get into the agencies. That's what I learned in the first year and a half, is the agencies are the power of trying to get the longevity contract, right? And then I would come back for the summer, and then it was hitting the ground running on that. And that's basically the crux of the story of how I got started in out of home from the marquee to an interstate board.
It's a pretty natural progression, right? Yeah. So I was going to say, so now, like, you're not just selling signs at gas stations and one billboard on the side of the road. You talked, about learning the business of entrepreneurship, which is more than just selling one asset, right? It's selling things together as a product or service. For folks that maybe don't know you, like, describe what it is that you're packing, because one, your content game is tight, which I want to talk about, but I'd love to learn more about what it is that, because you're in a pretty unique market. Like you're kind of Charlotte, but you're not quite Charlotte. You're in South Carolina, but you've got premium stuff. Maybe just give the audience some scope of what it is that you have.
Yes, right now, as far as the gas station signs now, well, we do not do them anymore, but we did from being innovative and realizing that, we had to figure out a pivot area. And I decided, I had this idea going into the education. When I was a sophomore, junior, my last semester junior year at Clemson, I had a resource allocation class about, it was an entrepreneurship class of creating a business and coming up, how will you allocate the resources and what will it take to last that business? And I had this idea. I've seen it in Vegas, and I've seen it in other places, but I didn't see it where we were at in the Carolinas. That is a growing market, and it was a mobile digital billboard. And at the time, I didn't realize that I was going to manufacture it or get it manufactured and have the actual truck. I was trying to take the mobile, delivery services like Uber or ride sharing services like Uber or Lyft or Postmates or things like that, and somehow connect that to out of home. And I knew that was a big thing. I was like, if I can connect these two, I could figure out we can make a very unique product. And we're still working on that. But I decided in that year, this is what I was going to do. So I started game planning, and it was about an 18-month process where, and it happened right when I graduated. The pandemic hit. I got back to my home and
hang on, because I think this is important. How old are you?
I just turned 24.
All right, hot damn, man. I think like that's when you just said I graduated, then the pandemic. Like, so this is everything that we're looking at here is the last 6 to 7 years.
Yeah. Or yeah.
Total. But what you're standing up is right the last one, and you picked a hell of a time to do it. What's something that 2020 taught you that you never could have planned for?
Perspective is probably the biggest word that I said that on my podcast as well, or just launched the podcast, but perspective for me was probably the biggest word, just because of not only in business, of perspective of not getting too comfortable of where you're at. And then just because you have something going now doesn't mean it's always going to be there. And perspective of what is going on in the world. And, at a young age, you need to have more perspective, because that can alter your way of dealing with things.
It makes up for experience.
Especially in the world we live in now, because things are so black and white and binary. I think it needs some time, if it's younger or older people that need to voice their opinion about perspective, that, everything is not black and white in this world. There can be a little gray area that keeps us moving forward and being united. And we see that very, very adamant right now. And I think perspective and also perspective of, and this is a personal subject, but my mom was diagnosed with cancer in August during the pandemic as well. So that's perspective of life. It was a very, everybody got hit hard with 2020, but it's just about the way you deal with it and move forward and innovate and your mind, innovate your business and keep moving forward. That was a big thing for Clemson. I remember when I used to work out, you remember things as you look back at your college career. They had move forward was one of their big thing. And that's always the thing you have to do, especially in business world, is you got to move forward and keep a good mindset, because everything is not as it seems. And you just need to be positive and have a good perspective of life.
Amen. Well, our thoughts are certainly with you and with your family as y'all work through that. Talk to me for a second as we pull into the station here about the content play. Like, there's some folks doing content, but like you do it really well and at a high level. Where do you see the value as an outdoor company, right?
Mhm.
Where do you see the value for yourself in the content play? You got the podcast. You guys just do super killer stuff in terms of showcasing your inventory and client work. Like, how important is content to your strategy at Crenshaw?
I think I think it's the crux of it, Tim. I think content is the only way to. So it's the only way to right now. I guess if we want to talk about just the pandemic years, you it's the only way to get it out there. You know, you have to have consistent content and being and distinguishing it between quantity and quality. Uh, my thing is sometimes I get caught up in the quality of it and trying to make it perfect. But the thing is, I think the game now is just being consistent and routine with the content, and you know your niche, and to keep being consistent with the content, and that's across all platforms. And there's things that set up now that you can, you know, when you post to one, it can post to all. Not necessarily I would do that for every piece of content, because
Sure.
I think some things are like LinkedIn is that I need to work on is more written. Like I feel like you do a great written piece on LinkedIn, and
Thank you. Thank you.
some things
It's
on Instagram maybe it's not as written, and then
totally.
audio for podcasts. It's just about being
Yeah.
tailored to and it's a learning experience. I'm not, and I have my sister here that does a lot of my creatives for the sides for the billboard signs and some things. But as far as creating the content, I'm basically posting it. I'm creating it and posting it all across. So she helps us with in-house. She has her own freelance, and we've, you know, helps me a lot. But as far as the content play, I think that's where I've seen Out of Home is going to. They have started to produce more content based on their showing their inventory. You know, I think there was
Yeah.
if I just doing looking back at history, I think Out of Home was kind of in a one way street of they didn't produce much content. Obviously, social media changed the game, right?
Right.
But there wasn't much drone photography or active. It was more of data. It was more of, hey, we have this many travelers,
For
you know.
sure.
And I
Right,
think that,
right, right,
you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, like this many people drove past it.
Right.
Where can folks go? Just because I'm coming up against it here at the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that folks can find you. And we'll link out to the content too. Where can people connect with you? Where are you most active? Where can people see more of the great content and what you're doing down there?
Right.
Guys?
You know, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are probably my core platforms. Obviously, we have a YouTube that we're trying to push a little more with our podcast. But yeah, at Crenshaw Visions, Visions was just that goes back. Just it was just a vision to me to try to figure out, you know, this is what I wanted to do, and I just, it was the crux of what I wanted to do. So, and it plays on Out of Home too, right? It's you know,
For
it's
sure.
visual. So at Crenshaw Visions, and it's sales at CrenshawVisions.com for any of our inventory. We have an I-77 interstate digital billboard that's in between Columbia and Charlotte. It's actually the only digital billboard that is in between Charlotte and Columbia, from Carowinds down to Columbia. So
That's important to know.
it's a
Yeah.
very it's a very selling point for me that it's 14 by 48, so it's one of the largest too. So and then we have our mobile digital billboard that is covering the South Corridor, Charlotte into the South Carolina region of Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Lancaster, in that area. So yeah, it's been interesting, and we're just innovating and trying to move forward, and whatever comes next comes next.
Awesome. Well, speaking of what comes next, I want to get back with you. We got to connect after this and offline. I'd love to do a showcase just on the mobile LED truck game. So
Right.
you down for that?
Oh, I'm down. Definitely.
Awesome.
That's very is innovative in our field. So I'm definitely down for that.
All right, cool. Well, hey, if you found this to be helpful, please share it with somebody who could benefit. As always, make sure to smash the subscribe button down below in the corner, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank y'all.